So the original Nintendo Switch launched in March 2017, and at that time, back in the day, almost 5 years ago, it was an amazing piece of hardware. It did a fantastic job of bridging the gap between mobile gaming to TV console gaming, and if you want tabletop mode, but in all honesty, I've never seen anyone play a Nintendo Switch in tabletop mode. So the real question is, where does this one come in? This is the 2021 OLED refresh of the hardware, and I've been playing it with a couple days, and honestly, I don't know who's buying this thing. All right, welcome ladies and gentlemen. My name is Nick. As always, you guys can call me Toucher Ninja, and this is my review of the OLED Nintendo Switch that just came out last week. This review kit was sent to us by our good friends over at Nintendo Canada for review. Let's go over some of the core physical and internal differences between this model, the newest one, and the launch model that I have right here. All right, so let's get the exciting stuff out of the way first with the dock, the very important dock, and so interesting. So the dock has pretty much been unchanged from the first generation to this latest generation Nintendo Switch. At first glance, what you notice almost immediately is that the Switch logo has been minimalized just a little bit to make it look a little bit cleaner, a little bit more marginalized. Flipping to the side, on the left-hand side, you still get 2 USB ports, so you can attach some charging devices or some other USB controllers, such as like maybe a Smash controller. If you flip to the back, you'll notice that they've changed the kind of wire management. You now have this quarter circle cutout. So ideally, you're probably gonna get a little bit cleaner cable management. This time, however, this backplate now fully detaches. You need to get to the back to the HDMI cable or the power cable. It's a lot easier to reach back. One new addition, obviously probably the biggest change, is now they've added an Ethernet port, a LAN port, which sits directly below the HDMI input cable, so you no longer have to rely solely on Wi-Fi, so you can get quicker downloads via a cable. But obviously, if you detach the Nintendo Switch to its dock, you still will need some sort of Wi-Fi connection, so you have access to the internet. Gotta love me some of that JoyCon Drift. So probably the biggest question that a lot of people have is, have they fixed the JoyCon Drift issues that Nintendo has faced class action lawsuits, as well has spent millions of dollars repairing them for free without actually recognizing that JoyCon Drift actually is a thing, and it's actually a tangible thing that exists in the wild today, despite them actually fixing it. But anyways, I digress. So Nintendo has publicly said that they have made improvements to the Joy-Con hardware, so there is a lower occurrence of Joy-Con Drift, but they have not said that they've completely eliminated the Joy-Con Drift issue. Joy-Con Drift is something that occurs with further use with the hardware, and given the fact that I've only had the console for about a week now, I have not used it obviously enough to actually try to wear down the joysticks, so to recreate the issues of Joy-Con Drift. You kind of have to just take it with a grain of salt of what Nintendo said. They pretty much have remained unchanged in terms of aesthetic and feel. They feel exactly the same, function the exact same way, and it's what makes the Switch. Being able to swap between the different modes is all about these things right here. And honestly, like I said at the very beginning of the video, it was great 5 years ago, and to this day, they still work great. All right, so let's move on to the main event, the white meat of the video. And the reason why you would be purchasing an OLED screen Nintendo Switch is for, funny enough, the OLED screen. So the screen itself has been given an upgrade. It is bigger now. So the original Nintendo Switch screen launched at 6.2 inches, and this screen has been upgraded to a 7-inch screen. They've done it by reducing the bezels around the screen itself, so the bezels are a lot thinner now, so you get more viewing real estate and more actual screen of the game. And as you can see, while it's off compared to its original launch version, it is much darker when it's off, which does make it look a lot cleaner and look a lot sexier and blacker, but it does make this thing an absolute fingerprint and dust magnet. I am constantly wiping this thing off just to take off the dust. So in terms of layout, you have the exact same blueprint as the original Nintendo Switch. On the far right-hand side, you have the game card slot. Beside that, you have the headphone jack. You have a vent so the device can cool itself with the fans that are inside. And then you have the volume as well as the power button on the very left-hand side. The volume and the power buttons actually have been changed a little bit. They are now more recessed inside the console, opposed to kind of protruding like they were in the original Nintendo Switch. Some more upgrades that this device has over the original one, and one large one, is now the kickstand goes across the full backhand length of the device itself, which is a really nice upgrade. This kickstand on the original Nintendo Switch was very flimsy, almost useless, made this really gross clicking sound when you opened it. I guess if you're into ASMR, you might find that oddly satisfying, but it only gave you one viewing angle. With this new upgraded kickstand, it feels a lot sturdier, a lot more substantial to hold the device up, and it now has different, you can pretty much choose any viewing angle that you want. So if you're outside, you need to catch the device in some sort of correct lighting to accommodate, you have now more options of different viewing angles. Pretty much the world's your oyster in terms of what angle you want to view the device itself, opposed to the one view angle of the original Nintendo Switch. All right, so let's move on to the internals, which is probably the most important part of this video, which is the reason why I saved it till the very end. So let's begin with the speakers. So as you can see, the speakers have been given a slight redesign in terms of their layout, their size, and there has been a noticeable upgrade. So the speaker itself on the screen has a much deeper and richer sound on this new OLED model and then the original launch model. And I have no idea how I would prove this to you. You're just gonna have to take my word on it. I think that they have upgraded the speaker system for the main unit itself. So in terms of internal storage, you do get a slight bump up in space. So the original Nintendo Switch launched with 32 gigabytes of internal storage, which honestly, it was laughable. 32 gigabytes, even 5 years ago, was still not nearly enough of what you needed. You do get a slight upgrade. The OLED Switch now comes with 64 gigabytes of internal storage, but once again, it's still not enough. Still will have to buy an upgraded SD card. It's just what it is, what they did to keep costs down, I guess. You guys remember at the very beginning of the video where I told you that the original Nintendo Switch launched almost 5 years ago in March 2017? So apparently, Nintendo doesn't believe that technology has evolved in 5 years, because the internal battery as well as the CPU of this new 2021 OLED LED screen Nintendo Switch is exactly the same. They have not upgraded it at all. The battery life on the original Nintendo Switch was not good. Borderline terrible, which is why people constantly had to carry around battery packs to power this thing if you wanted to play it on the go. I am all about mid-cycle refreshes to hardware. I accept them. I think there's a place for them. And honestly, the competition has done it. PlayStation did it last generation with the PlayStation Pro. Xbox did it with the Xbox One X. But in those cases, they charged more, yes, but there were tangible reasons to upgrade in terms of the hardware for the console gamer. Like I said, it launched 5 years ago. Are you telling me that Nintendo couldn't in some way figure out to get some sort of hardware upgrade for 5-year-old technology at the same cost? It's just, so that's where I am. I'm just very confused where this OLED screen Nintendo Switch kind of fits into the entire Switch ecosystem, because the majority of us, if you're a Nintendo fan by now, the console launched 5 years ago, and you most likely have the Nintendo Switch already. And if you're a person like myself who is primarily a console gamer, you have zero reason whatsoever to upgrade to the OLED model. If you're primarily a mobile gamer, the Nintendo Switch Lite launched last year at $100 cheaper than the original Nintendo Switch at $200. And honestly, it's a great experience on the go. It still has the same hardware as well as battery life as this Switch right here, or the original launch one, but it's substantially cheaper than the actual console mode. And if you're a mobile gamer primarily, it's a great option if you want to save a little bit of money. I so desperately wanted the 4K Nintendo Switch to be an actual thing. It was long rumored, long leaked, but it didn't happen. And that's where we stand right now. It never actually materialized. I just really wanted to experience the amazing games that Nintendo has at a higher resolution, from the Pokemon to the Mario. Playing Breath of the Wild at a higher resolution above 30 frames per second and not suffering from frame drops when you enter the Forbidden Woods. I just really wanted to happen, but alas, it's probably not going to happen within the next year or so. So we just kind of have to hold up hope that we're gonna get some sort of next-gen upgrade in the near future from Nintendo. But at this moment, this is what we have. This is the OLED Nintendo Switch. If you're a person who does not have a Switch yet, this is the one to get. But once again, if you are a person who has some sort of Switch already, I don't see the value in upgrading, and that's just my personal opinion. Let me know what your guys' thoughts are in the comment box below. If you think it's worth an upgrade, if you have any redeeming qualities you want to debate in the comment box below, let me know, and I'll respond to the comments as many as I can. And hopefully you guys enjoyed the review. It was my pleasure making it, although I was left wanting a little bit more out of this device. It was still fun playing with a new piece of hardware and sharing my thoughts with you guys. So yeah, if you enjoyed the video, thumbs up are greatly appreciated, and I will see you guys next time, and we will chat soon.